It's the Full Court Press with Eric Franson and Jason Walker.
Welcome back to the to the show that we're doing right now.
Following the local teams, breaking down the biggest games with in-depth analysis and team interview. Join the show by calling into 435-752-1069 or text 435-339-0321. It's the Full Court Press.
Look, throws, ends it, yes! Caught! Touchdown! They did it!
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome on in to another edition of the Full Court Press. Eric Franson, J.D. Walker hanging out with you on, what is today? Boxing Day?
Boxing Day,
Is that what today is called? I left my gloves at home. Are we supposed to like duke it out or something on the show?
Well, it is primarily Canadian, and they love hockey today, and there's hockey all over the place. So I bet a lot of fights happen on Boxing Day.
Isn't it something like the day after Christmas, and that you put everything in boxes and any leftover food you take to the poor or something like that? I don't know. If somebody knows like what Boxing Day really is all about, hit us up on the Full Court Press text line, 435-339-0321. All I know is we're here to do another show, and we are live in studio today, so you can text into the Full Court Press text line. We'll see it, we'll react, and we can be a part of the show. A couple different things we'll get through today. We'll talk about the bowl season as it continues on. Look, we've had some. Look, the names are funky, and maybe the matchups are interesting, but there have been some pretty spicy bowl games going on outside of the college football playoffs. So we'll talk about that. The latest transfer news for Utah State football: players coming, players leaving. They have now. We now know their destinations. It was a pretty quick turnaround for one specific Aggie. So. You know, he had to have a pretty good offer in hand before he put his name in the portal to do that. We didn't get a chance to do this the other day, but we'll take a look at how some former Aggies are doing in the NFL. A couple of notable Aggies had some really big games here recently. So we'll take a look at that. Next hour, we'll get into a little more basketball discussion. Coach Jared Calhoun met with the media today. Little pre-practice discussion before the Aggies head off to San Diego State. I'll give the latest updates on what's going on with basketball, some injury updates that he shared. And the NBA, a lot of people have been talking about ratings are down. The NBA is in real trouble. Viewers aren't there, but they had a big ratings boom on Christmas Day. So we'll discuss that. What does that mean, and where do they go from there? So a couple different things we'll look at. Jazz are in action tonight as well, so we can touch on the Utah Jazz as they are in Portland. But before we get really too deep into this, have been getting reports that Logan Canyon is a mess, and Highway Patrol has been shutting down. Earlier, they were shutting down southbound traffic through the canyon. They had to turn people around. I don't know if that is still the case. But I understand it was very messy, a lot of vehicles sliding off, difficult to make it up the hill. So just be advised, be aware if you're trying to head south through Sardine Canyon or try to head to the Wasatch Front, you'll probably have to go the long way around over Valley View Highway over to Tremonton. So be advised that it may not look that bad in the valley, but it's nasty in the canyon.
Oh, yeah. And I heard Sardine Canyon's also getting some weather, too, on and off. So be sure to check and take your time. You know, don't rush to get anywhere today. It's Boxing Day. Nobody's got anywhere important to be today.
Yeah. So, problematic in both directions. I don't think it's just isolated to southbound. I think it's been pretty messy both directions. So just heads up on that. Which can be tough. Like if people are trying to, if they've been visiting family and they're trying to head home, or vice versa, you just might need to take the long, careful way around. Don't tempt it, or you may just have to sit there and wait until they get it cleared. So
yeah, AAA said like 120 million people traveling more than 50 miles from their home. It was a record this year. Like people getting back out there post pandemic and stuff. So. Getting back to where you're going is probably going to be a little bit of a spaghetti bowl, too. So just take your patience.
Yes. So Looking at some traffic cams right now, not much traffic in the canyon. Like they're pretty restricting it pretty well. But as snowplows try to get caught up there, just heads up for some travel delays if you're heading south or just trying to go through Sardine Canyon either direction. So just heads up on that. And we'll keep an eye on it. If there's any updates over the course of our show, we'll update you on that. But first, let's get to the latest in an ongoing thing that we're following is players in the transfer portal. If a player is interested in potentially going to a new destination, that player has until December 28th to put his name in the portal. Doesn't necessarily mean he's gone. Usually it means they are looking and headed somewhere else. But if they're curious about it or at least exploring, they have to put their names in by the 28th. And where they end up heading after that, they can declare after that. But today we heard some more portal news that's affecting Utah State. When we were on Tuesday, we were talking about the loss of a wide receiver that we were hopeful would stick around. Otto Tia put his name in the portal, and he did not waste any time announcing where he was headed next.
I just want to give Otto Tia probably props, being maybe one of the few players in the country that entered the portal, and before you could get to the part of his statement that said, with that being said, he was already committed. I mean, Christmas Eve, now Boxing Day, he's already done. And it's kind of funny. He's signing on with Utah. And I think the official visit or the unofficial official visit took place back in early September when Otto had a pretty good game against the Utes, 5 receptions for 78 yards. And then, closing out the year with 6 receptions, 81 yards, and 3 touchdowns in that game against Colorado State. Yeah, that was a pretty good official visit for him there. But, yep, he's all good to go. I don't know what it's going to mean for him stats-wise. Like, I don't see this as I don't think he'll get more than the 44 catches and 434 yards. Do you feel like he'll get that in Utah's offense? They don't really utilize. I can't think of many star receivers that have come out over the last 5-10 years from Utah that have kind of been stat patters. It's not really their jam down there, is it?
Yeah, I mean, they've had some good wide receivers here and there. I think a thing to keep in mind is they've also just got a new offensive coordinator who was at New Mexico with Bronco Mendenhall, and New Mexico was putting up points. They were scoring a lot, and they've got Dampier. Devin Dampier is going to follow his coordinator to Utah. And so there's going to be some opportunity for Otto. But look, he's going to go through the Big 12 and he's got good size. But you're probably right. He's going to probably spend more time because of his size as a blocking wide receiver than as a possession receiver that can play along the sidelines. But that being said, like, he improved as the season went on. The last half of the season, he really started to blossom and start to play like the player that we thought he could be all along, and just using his size, using his skill to box out cornerbacks. Somebody that I think me and I know Jason and a few others, I think we try to project a lot more onto him than maybe he was ready for. Because when we saw him in practices and in certain scrimmages, we thought, okay, this guy's got great size. He's got good speed, and he could be a real dynamic player. And in our top 25 Aggies going into 2 seasons, we had him very high in our lists. Now last year, 2023, he was injured for a good part of that season, and we really didn't see him. This year, he was kind of hot and cold. He played well in the early season against Utah. Then he kind of disappeared for a while, and then he reemerged later in the year when Jalen Royals was out. But he was starting to emerge even alongside Jalen Royals. And he's a guy that looked like, man, he could be such a big weapon. If defenses are focusing on Royals, you still got Otto Tia over here, who's a big guy, but he kind of struggled a little bit with consistency in bringing in catches.
I think we saw that development. I think one of the first interceptions that Spencer got kind of charged for that I don't think was his was very reminiscent if Otto would have boxed out a little bit, used his body. But then you saw as he got further on in the season, he would use his body in that same exact way that he didn't. And you could see the work and the progression with Otto and also Coach Cefalo and how they worked it out. I just, looking at New Mexico's offense, Coach Beck just trying to look, I'm not going to put Otto on the same level as Luke Weissong. I think I'm saying that name right.
Yeah.
Maybe Ryan Davis. So there is a little hope here because Ryan Davis, for them, 54 catches, 747 yards. I mean, that could be plausible for him. And also, it's going to be probably a little bit of an upgrade, offensive line style and things. I know Coach Whittingham's gotten a lot of heat. The offensive coordinator position at Utah seems to be the hot seat place.
It's always a hot seat.
Yeah,
it's always a revolving door.
I'm seeing to learn that. So maybe Coach is, he said he's coming back for one more year. Coach Beck's really rising coach in the industry, and maybe he's going to kind of take the reins off a little bit and let the Utes open the offense a little bit. It'll be interesting to see with Dan Pierre running that offense, and I'm excited for Isaac Wilson to get a chance to sit and learn this offense and not be thrown out to the Wolves so quickly and see how he can develop. So, yeah, I mean, I'm excited for Otto, and like we talked on Christmas Eve, you get connected to these guys. So as long as they're not playing the Aggies or anything that's going to impact us here in the Mountain West or Pac-12 in the future, I hope Otto has a great career down there.
Yeah, well, look, he's a Utah kid. It makes sense. He's from the state of Utah. He doesn't have to travel far. His family can still come watch him. It's too bad, right? I mean, I'm sure there was a financial offer on the table that lured him away and an opportunity. And I'm not just saying it's probably only that. I mean, there's an opportunity to play in the Big 12 at a program that has a proud tradition of being very successful. This year was a down year for Utah, but an opportunity to play on a bigger stage is hard to argue against as well. But it's too bad when you see players that have been here for a while and these programs invest in them and watch them develop and grow. But you know what? This is a coaching staff that he didn't choose, right? Bronco Mendenhall made that clear too in his introductory press conference. It's like, look, these guys didn't choose me, and so I have to work to get them to choose me. And we shouldn't feel bad if any of them decide to go elsewhere and make their own choice, because Otto didn't come to Utah State under the understanding that Bronco Mendenhall and his staff would be the coaching staff.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Checking some Utes history here. Kevin Dyson, a receiver I remember back in the day, I believe played for the Titans. But we're talking back 94, 97. And then Steve Smith, of course.
Oh, very dynamic.
I mean, that guy, the way he played the game just changed it. So, yeah, there's a little bit, but there's been a gap for some time for some development of receivers down there. But, maybe I'm just a sucker for that prototypical 6'4", 6'5", big receiver that's able to use their length and their body to kind of shield out in the end zone. I mean, that's kind of the generation of receiver I was raised on in the NFL. Randy Moss was really at the peak of his career when I was really interested in the NFL. So it'll be interesting to see how Otto does down there. And, kind of curious, Eric, because it fit. We'd had some discussions. We've seen the offers that Coach Mendenhall's staff's put out there. And, man, they're recruiting some basketball players out there to play defensive back and wide receiver. So we were hopeful, but, that just opens the door for another Aggie to step in and, win that spot.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of competition. I mean, it's a clean slate. This new coaching staff, new eyes, new way of evaluating. Nothing's guaranteed. And so Otto has decided to go to Utah and take his chances there under that new, coaching staff in the Big 12 for the Utes. And so, yeah, it stings to see a good player leave. It seems to always sting a little bit worse when they choose somebody that's just down the road.
Yeah.
It's like, you couldn't keep them compared to those other programs. Like if somebody goes to Oklahoma State or Cal or whatever, it's like it's out of state, out of mind, really. But when they're going just down the road,
it's,
you're going to hear more about it. That always seems to sting just a little bit more.
especially if they have a breakout game.
You're right.
You know,
It's
you're
like,
going to hear. Then you're going to hear about where they came from
Right.
to be successful.
Yes, exactly. But Autotia isn't the only player that is making news today. One coming the other direction. A name that folks that followed high school football in the Valley closely was surely recognized, and certainly recognized this player's dad as a former Aggie. And this is Caden Cox, who was a star football player, quarterback at Ridgeline High School. Went and committed to BYU as a preferred walk-on, went on a mission, came home this summer, and just redshirted this last year. Didn't really play, wasn't even officially on the roster. But he posted earlier today that he is received an invitation to come play at Utah State. In fact, this is what he shared on social today. He said, after a great talk with Coach Mendenhall and Coach McGivern, I'm excited to continue my football journey at Utah State. Go Aggies. So that's exciting. Yeah, and he also shared a picture of him as like a little kid in a Utah State jersey, just a toddler, you know. And this is, as we said, like this is Travis Cox, his dad, was a quarterback at Utah State. And so the Cox family, very good athletes. Caden's younger brother is going to BYU as a wide receiver. But Caden, I don't know what position necessarily he'll play here in Logan, but he's, 6 foot, 180 pounds, played the quarterback position at Ridgeline. And an offensive system that was, his dad was a college quarterback and ran a very sophisticated offensive system. So Caden certainly would understand that, and we'll see how he fits in with Coach Mendenhall in this new roster. But we got some coming. We've got some leaving, got some coming, really, for Utah State today.
And I think I found a typo from his senior season. This can't be correct. 55 touchdown passes to 2 interceptions.
Oh,
holy smokes!
Yeah,
that must have been a season there.
Yeah, very special career at Ridgeline High School for Caden Cox. By the way, 8968 texting in. From what I understand, Boxing Day in part is where employees will trade with bosses for one day. Oh, okay. Could be fun. Trading positions, trading roles. Yeah,
the day after Christmas, we just switch places. Sounds like a Tom Hanks movie.
That's good.
I was also looking here. I mentioned right before we went on the show some visits coming in. You might see some guys around town. It may look familiar if you're a fan of college football. Arizona quarterback transfer Anthony Garcia has an official visit to come to Logan on January 3rd. He's got offers from Sacramento State, prepped at Capital Christian High School in Sacramento. Sacramento State, you see what Coach Brennan's doing over there? They're bringing 3- and 4-star guys down to the level, and
their goal is to move up. They just looking for a home, somewhere to take them. They're trying to be aggressive. I think they're making a lot of promises that I don't know that they can deliver on just yet. So I would caution anybody to take that too seriously.
Yeah.
But Sacramento State's trying to be serious in their move up to the FBS ranks.
So if these kids, some of the UNLV transfers are going, there's a receiver from UNLV going, if these guys go there, do you think it can kind of model the NBA system or the NCAA system for the NBA, one and done, where a player has to, stay and then can declare, and it would be like this, but maybe on the level to move up to a power conference? Because if you ball out there at Sacramento State, I mean, you're going to get noticed.
Yeah.
And you're going to get the hype with Coach Brennan and things like that. So maybe it works for them to just be a constant turnover, like I can't imagine like coaching with that. In fact, the coach of the Miami Hurricanes basketball team today just kind of said the same thing.
Yeah.
Said he's done. He's calling it quits.
He's getting tired of I do contract negotiations with recruits. It's like, I want you to come play for us. Well, and he has to go through agents. And really, his story was, if you can come up with $1.1 million, you can start having a conversation with my client.
Oh my gosh!
So that's the world we're in now.
And his team went to the NCAA tournament. They had a really successful season, and then he's like had 9 players hit the portal, and are like he said his quote was, "Don't you like it here?" He's like, "We love it here, but there's more money elsewhere." And it's like, dang. And we're talking about the University of Miami here.
Yeah,
that's pleading that they can't. The basketball team. So just really interesting dynamics in college sports right now with NIL and transfer portals. And, you said it, the transfer portal closes on the 28th, but then it opens up back again in the spring. So we're going to have a bunch of shifting again go through.
It's so dumb.
And I saw there are so many players in the portal right now. It is a ridiculous amount.
We're like up to 7,000.
Yeah, almost 7,000.
Neighborhood.
Yeah, Brett Dearman said just about 6,000 players in the portal as of right now. They're estimating another 500 to 700 players will be given an extra year of eligibility, and of course
because of that junior college rule.
Yeah, and that doesn't include who's going to declare for the portal in the next couple of days. He said that's almost 7,000 players that are looking for spots on teams. Now I know there's a lot of college football teams out there, but I don't think there's not many more spots than that.
Yeah, then there's a lot of guys who won't find a home, and they'll have to transfer down just to find a team to play on. So that's one of the sad things about this transfer portal era that we're seeing is that a lot of players will declare they think they're on to something bigger and better, and then those offers don't come, and they end up having to go down a level just to continue their playing career.
And or even worse, not finding a spot. And that ends your playing career, that ends your education. There's just so much up in the air that I don't know. And I'd slap myself up the head normally saying this for more regulation, but something's got to come in and it's got to protect everybody that's involved. I'm not really crying that the NCAA needs protection, but the programs need protection because, look, if a program like Utah State is going to continually get poached, if there isn't some regulation and some kind of ground rules for how NIL works. And somebody brought up an interesting thing today that should there be a transfer fee that goes back to the schools? Like in that kind of transfer portal, kind of like the soccer does. And you have posting fees. International baseball has it when they do their stars. So that might be a way to, I guess, keep a competitive balance because then the haves that have the big NIL deals are in parts of the country. Then at least you
get compensated for being a development program.
And then you'd get compensated back, and that builds up your program. So,
interesting thought. Quick text here before we hit a timeout from 2305. I've heard that Sacramento State volunteers have been raising NIL money for their programs. It's getting close to $100 million. Yes, that's correct, $100 million. So I think they are definitely a program to be considered as one that's up and coming. I think what that means is they want a Pac-12 invite and at least a Mountain West invite. Yeah, so the thing on the Sacramento State, and this kind of blew up on Twitter courtesy of Doug Gottlieb, because there was a claim that they had $50 million in NIL, and that would, if that were true, they would far surpass the biggest names of college athletics. So what do they really have? They have pledges, and their pledges continue to grow. I don't want to say that it's nothing. It's all false bravado. I mean, there's something to it, but legitimate money in the bank ready to pay players, they don't have that. But the way that they're spinning it makes it sound like they're sitting on this big pile of cash. If they were legitimately sitting on that much cash, why aren't they using that to build a stadium, move up to FBS, even as an independent until that offer comes from some conference? So there is money in Sacramento to be at this level, and there are people that are making pledges, but I think it would be a mistake for anybody to believe that Sacramento State is sitting on $50 million or even close to $1 million in NIL.
Eric, with your just insight, what would you think that would cost to elevate the program, Sacramento State, financially, dollar-wise, to that level? Like, including stadium, staffing, facilities, everything. I mean, because people hear that 50 and 100 million and think that's a lot of money, but I have a feeling that you're going to give me a number that's a little bit bigger than that.
Well, to build a new stadium, I mean, it's going to have to cost in the neighborhood of $120 million. Based on some of the renderings that they have, land. I mean, to build it to the capacity that it needs to be done, facilities around it, and then to pay a coaching staff and a roster to compete. That's a major investment. And they say they're working on it. They're making these pledges, but nothing's official yet. I mean, that's all it is reports. And look, they're doing their good PR campaign here. Everybody's talking about Sacramento State these last couple of months. And when's the last time any of us talked about Sacramento State outside of maybe if they showed up on somebody's non-conference schedule in the early part of September? So
maybe the Pac-12
give it to them for trying.
Hire that PR firm to figure this stuff out.
That's fair. All right, we got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Still love to continue to hear from you. 435-339-0321. Help us understand Boxing Day. I'm a little confused as to what that day actually is and what it means. Continue to look at the latest updates on the Utah State football roster. Players coming, players going, players announcing where they're headed. We'll also look at the bowl season overall. And we talked about the college football playoff and debated that on Tuesday, but let's look at the broader scope of college football bowl season. There's been some pretty exciting games here lately. So we'll get into that next here on the Full Court Press.
It's Christmas savings time at Daryl's Appliance. This is Jay with Daryl's Appliance. Are you shopping for Wolf, Sub-Zero, or Thermador? We have what you are looking for, and we have exclusive builder pricing, plus all the rebates. Plus, our delivery and installation is by certified installers. Partner with us for your home build or remodel and experience the Daryl's difference. West on Airport Road, open until 6 p.m. on weekdays, 5 on Saturday.
This is Ryan at My Mattress. A few years ago, I saw this sign hanging in a gas station. It said price, quality, service. Pick 2 out of the 3. Now, it's funny, and I did laugh, but at My Mattress, we don't even want to do business unless we can do all 3. Price, quality, and service. We have a 90-day sleep guarantee, 90-day price guarantee, and we will answer the phone if you have a warranty concern. At My Mattress, we deliver, we have financing, we strive to be price, quality, and service every day. Isn't it time to sleep exceptionally? Only at My Mattress.
Happy holidays from the entire team at Adams Wealth Advisors. As we celebrate the joy of this season, it's also time to plan for a financially sound future. Wondering about tax strategies or required investment distributions? Adams Wealth Advisors has the answers. The Adams Wealth team is here to guide you through any complexities and ensure a prosperous new year. Happy holidays from Adams Wealth Advisors, where achieving your financial goals is their mission. Call today to schedule an appointment, 752-1702, or search Adams Wealth Advisors online.
They never could play it, but they sure can talk about it. Eric Franson and Jason Walker on the Full Court Press.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press. Eric Franson and J.D. Walker, not Jason Walker. Jason Walker spending time with family this week. Also understand he's been under the weather. It's always a bummer. Expect to go take some time with family and visit people, and instead you're flat on your back in bed, feeling yucky.
Hopefully he's getting some of Mom's home cooking to get better.
Yes, I understand he and I were messaging each other earlier today. Seems to be doing a little better, and we'll see him after the new year. He's going to be spending time with family through the end of the month, really. But yeah, looking at what's going on in sports, always love to hear from you. 435-339-0321. By the way, apologies for our show on Christmas Eve. Sounds like, at 8968 messaging us on Tuesday. But yeah, apparently some things didn't get timed out like they should have, and some things were happening on top of each other. So apologies. That wasn't us, but We'll do better.
We were getting the sleigh ready in the back of a radio ranch, and Donner started getting into the wires. It's just things that happen.
9315 texting in. This year, I think Boxing Day is a preview of how much boxing out Utah State will do on Saturday in California for the win. PS might be in the NIL deal USU has with U-Haul. Okay. Then also, I guess 9315 send us a text on Christmas about the USU water bomb. Cool.
Yeah,
I don't know why that was sent in.
I've seen that circling around several places on social media.
It was pretty epic. 8968, like I've said before, I would like to see where the big teams halves would be considered pro teams, play as pro teams, and play in a league of their own. I would then like to see the teams like the Aggies play true amateur programs, the players that want to be a team with who chose them. I know I live in a fantasy world.
I don't think there's any amateur designation anymore.
No, I thought that we were moving in a direction where there would be a super league that it would be maybe 60 teams, and they would pay their players. They would treat them as professionals. They would have their own rules, decide their own champions, and then you have a league of everybody else. These with the way things have happened, some of the things that the way they want to operate has trickled down to everybody else. They are paying players. Players are getting paid. They are changing the dynamic of how they choose a champion. The NCAA has nothing to do with the college football playoff. The NCAA does not choose a champion for college football. It hasn't for years, and they've abdicated that. They've turned it over to somebody else to do that for decades. But it may still get to that point, like 8968. It may get to a point where it's the top 50 to 60 teams that break away and ultimately do their own thing. But right now, everybody's still trying to make sense of all this. And I think you're right. Ultimately, we'll have to come down to something on the federal level to get this reined in a little bit. But that's going to be hard to do now that genie is out of the bottle. It's hard to put it back in. I mean, the federal guys get involved when somebody plants a flag on the field. I'm shocked that we haven't seen somebody that is from an alma mater of a smaller college that's just been decimated by the transfer portal. It hasn't dropped a bill in Congress or something yet, but it's definitely something that's going to have to work, because I don't think it's working for programs, but I also think it's not working for probably a pretty good percentage of the student athletes that hit that hit the portal, whether by their choice or whether not. I just think they're education-wise, future-wise, there's got to be some guarantees for everybody on all sides. And, that kind of doing the transfer sharing that the soccer league does with transfers and stuff like that, I think that would kind of balance things out. And I don't want to say subsidize the smaller programs, but let's be realistic. The Oakland A's and the Pittsburgh Pirates and the Major League Baseball, basically, they're the farm system for the Braves and the New York Yankees and the Red Sox and all of the Dodgers. That's how it goes. The Kansas City Royals for years have been the farm team. The Cincinnati Reds. That's just, and these are clubs making millions and millions of dollars with owners that you could argue about and stuff, but it's just the haves and haves not. You're going to see it, and you take those 60 teams and you create a power league, and I think you're still going to have the same problem, because you're going to have power league teams crying poverty like Alabama is now and trying to raise funds. So it's just a weird world we live in. It is very weird. But speaking of college football, one thing is not weird is bowl season can be pretty exciting on occasion. Sometimes there's blowouts. Sometimes there are games that aren't really that intriguing, which unfortunately we saw in the opening round of the college football playoff. But outside of that, JD, we've had some pretty exciting, fun football games in bowl season. We've had multiple games that have been decided by one score. We've had multiple games going into overtime. We've had some Mountain West Conference teams involved in some very exciting finishes. In fact, on the famous Idaho Potato Bowl went into extra time. Fresno State was involved in that one. And unfortunately, they weren't able to win, but it was an exciting finish. And then it was Northern Illinois winning in double overtime. And then on Christmas Eve, we had 5 overtimes in Hawaii, with South Florida eventually getting the win over San Jose State, 41-39.
I tell you, there were kids in South Florida and San Jose State that woke up with just bows on Amazon packages because mom and dad were watching 5 overtimes. It was so much fun. Somebody sent me a message when it went to the first overtime, and I'm like, overtime football on Christmas Eve? And, and games in Hawaii sometimes like to stretch into the next day, so I was curious to see where it would go. So, very interesting, very entertaining game from South Florida and San Jose State.
Well, and we've got some ones that are pretty exciting right now. We've got a 4 overtime game going on right now in the Game Above Sports Bowl, and Toledo is currently up 44-42.
Dang.
I don't think this game has gone final yet. And then we've also got a close one in the Rate Bowl with Rutgers 17-10 over Kansas State. So another close bowl game. So these bowl games have been fun, JD. And with all the noise about the college football playoff, and those games were blowouts, double digit. Everyone was won by double digits. But outside of that, the bowl season has actually been quite entertaining.
I tell you what, Pitt and Toledo putting up 850 total yards of offense, that's a fun game to play. That's a fun game to watch and be a part of, and probably more entertaining. And just the end of the 5th overtime is what just popped up on my screen.
We are now into the 5th overtime.
Yeah, so there's been some great games. Yeah, some of the college football playoff games, but you get that in the NFL too. You get that. You get some, snoozers and stuff like that. But, man, Pitt and Toledo really throwing down today and putting some entertainment. The Game Above Sports Bowl. Yeah. Okay.
Or as, now I don't remember who said it. I saw this on X just a little bit ago. Oh, it was Chris Vanini. More like the Game Never Over Sports Bowl. It just keeps going.
The one later tonight, Arkansas State, Bowling Green, 7:00 on ESPN, a 68 Ventures Bowl.
These names.
There's a chance that we could have a full court press bowl in the future.
I want to do a toilet bowl. I want to find the 2 worst teams and put them together and then award something to the team that legitimately was the worst of the worst.
The Golden Plunger.
Yes, but something tells me teams wouldn't really get too excited about participating.
I tell you who would. Plumbing and like emergency plumbing services, they would dump NIL into that.
There
I tell
you go.
What, we could become the plumber school.
We could find some unique money.
Yeah.
By the way, that Hawaii Bowl was the first 5 overtime bowl game in college football history. So if this one goes to 6, it would set a new record. It just keeps on going.
We're at 2-point conversion time, right?
Yes.
We don't even do touchdowns anymore. We just safeties, all safeties.
So keeping an eye on this one, but you got the 68 Ventures Bowl later on. That starts at 7:00. Arkansas State and Bowling Green. And look, the thing with the bowl season is you do get some interesting matchups. While they might not feature like the best of the best, your double-digit win team versus another double-digit win team, you do get some interesting matchups that you wouldn't normally see. Like Toledo and Pitt. Who would have guessed this game going into 5 overtimes? Arkansas State, Bowling Green could be interesting. But we've seen some other games that were fun. West Virginia and Memphis went down to the wire. Memphis ended up getting the win. UNLV beating Cal. So you get some different matchups in the bowl season, which I think is fun. And just it's the casual viewing on ESPN helps fill their inventory through this holiday week. But with JD, it looks like we're going into a 6th overtime here.
That's awesome.
This is amazing. This is a new record for Bulls. So this is the game that does not want to end.
It reminds me of that Buffalo Wild Wings commercial back in the day where they would like call in to like extend the game, keep extending it. So 6 overtime is Pittsburgh and Toledo. Whoever bought a ticket to that one, you're getting your money's worth tonight.
Wow. Yeah, that's fun. So yeah, bowl season is upon us, and I think it's pretty entertaining. I think it's kind of fun. A couple texts coming in, 435-339-0321. If you want to chime in, 8968, saying Alabama is claiming poverty. Who's next? BYU?
I think BYU's got their NIL situation pretty squared away, the way they're working it, and the way I know it's easy to throw shade at schools that are doing well with NIL when your schools doesn't have those resources. But I think BYU's really handling their stuff well with how they disperse it, how they go. They get a lot of shade for what they do, but the people that are in charge of that are trying to put championship caliber teams together, and I think they're doing a great job with it.
Yeah, I mean the most laughable is Alabama sending letters to their alumni and donor base, just begging for money.
Well, it's the way they stacked. I mean, the big programs, they stacked the 4- and 5-star recruits. You've got there was a Tagovailoa was the quarterback from like 6 generations there at Alabama, and they just had a 5-star after 5-star after 5-star, and a 5-star get hurt in the national championship game, and then you got another one to come in, and we're just not in the day and age of that they can't. Just the demographics of where Tuscaloosa is and, the financial state of that university compared to other universities, they don't have the money to keep that many people stacked. So instead of just having enough talent on your scout team that beats 90% of the other teams in the country, you actually have to develop and wisely invest. So maybe UNC's onto something with the whole general manager Bill Belichick thing. It'll be an interesting thing to watch, a rocket that goes to space or the Titanic.
Yeah, that's right. Quickly, another quick text here from 9315. Why have they not copied the FCS model for the playoffs for FBS? It's worked great for lots of years. And then all us Pac fans teams rooting the Boise State donkey for the good of the conference, even though it is very painful to do so. Also, if they advance, will it increase the possibility for money payouts in media for Pac? So as far as like the playoffs, FCS has had a playoff bracket that's worked very well for them for a long time, and that is operated by the NCAA. But the NCAA, again, is not involved in choosing the champion for college football and haven't for decades. I like it. I like brackets. You allow the teams to decide themselves who the champion should be instead of a few people declaring it. So we're into a playoff model now that is more expanded. I think it'll probably expand a little bit more, but I like this direction that this FBS is currently headed.
And I'll root for Boise as long as they don't run into a giant green duck. Then I'm going to stick with my hometown roots. But yeah, Does the college football playoff for Boise, they win, does that put money into the Mountain West this year for a payoff or a dividend or a share?
It will. I don't know how it's distributed, if it's in one lump sum. For basketball, it's in units, and that's over a 6-year period of time. I think for football, it is more like we got our money and we're going to give it to you. But so there will be 1 year where Boise State, Utah State, and the others will benefit from that payout. But if it is dispersed over time, the rest of that will stay with the Mountain West.
Sounds like another potential lawsuit.
I don't know, maybe. All right, we got to take a time out here in the Full Court Press. Still more time for you to weigh in. 435-339-0321.
Hi, I'm Jay Broadbent with Alpine Home Medical. I'd like to invite you to learn more about us. Since 1997, we've been Utah's premier one-stop shop for home medical equipment. What sets us apart at Alpine Home Medical is the superior level of customer service. We provide home oxygen, CPAPs, wheelchairs, scooters, breast pumps, and so much more. Come on down and get to know us.
Alpine Home Medical, we bring wellness home.
visit alpinehomemedical.com.
This is Jordan with Primrose Home Care and Hospice, and I'm here with Barbara. Barbara, how did you become acquainted with Primrose?
I had been trying to get another company to come and help me, and I had waited about 2 weeks, and I needed a bath. My neighbor suggested that she would make a few phone calls, and that very afternoon, Mark Stokes was sitting in my front room, and he said, "What do you need?"
Primrose Home Care and Hospice. We're your home team.
Disasters don't wait for a convenient time. When the unexpected strikes, call the trusted team at Blue Sky. Remember, Blue Sky is that same great ARS team you know and trust.
This is Tom with Blue Sky Restoration. When disaster strikes, whether it's a flood, fire, mold damage, or an unforeseen accident, Blue Sky will clean up, repair, and restore your home or business like it was before. No disaster is too big or too small. For all your restoration needs, you can trust our Blue Sky team.
Now here's a concept. You earmark 1/3 of your profits to go back into the community, to local charities. Dex Imaging does that. My name is Anthony Wagner, and I'd like to share with you what I know about Dex, the company that acquired Valley Office Systems. Dex Imaging is committed to continuing quality customer service while raising the bar to become a strong community partner. Join us in creating the brightest image for tomorrow. Contact us at deximaging.com.
As the year comes to a close, we at Aggies Healthcare want to take a moment to express our heartfelt gratitude.
To our incredible staff, thank you for your dedication, hard work, and passion. You make everything we do possible.
To our wonderful community, thank you for your trust and support. You're the reason we continue to grow and thrive.
This holiday season, we wish you and your loved ones joy, peace, and warmth. Here's to cherished moments in a bright new year ahead.
Happy holidays from all of us at Aggies Healthcare.
We look forward to serving you in the year to come.
Who do you turn to if you want to change out your wood or pellet stove? Advanced Fireplace and Stove. They were voted the gold medalist for Best of Northern Utah for the 4th year in a row in the fireplace retrofit category. Be ready when the government's next wood and pellet replacement incentives pop up. Advanced Fireplace can help you navigate the paperwork. For more information, call Advanced Fireplace and Stove, 752-7272. Online at advancedfireplaceandstove.com.
For more than a century, S. Needham Jewelers has been repairing jewelry and watches in Cache Valley. We do all our work on premises, and you may even talk directly with our expert technicians. We also have today's state-of-the-art equipment, including a laser welder that will repair jewelry with precision. We guarantee our work and offer competitive prices. So whether repairing your precious wedding ring, sizing a ring, or simply changing a watch battery, come to Utah's oldest jewelry store with today's newest technology and repair. S. Needham Jewelers, middle of the block, at the sign of the clock.
The Full Court Press on Sports Talk Radio, 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan.
Your locally owned Preston and Providence Napa Auto Parts supplies parts to over a dozen different local Napa Auto Care centers. You can trust and count on their ASE certified mechanics. Places like Autobahn Performance in Logan or Master Mechanic in Providence, or even General Repair in Logan. So just a reminder, looks like things are looking a little bit better. It looks like traffic is going in Sardine Canyon, just looking at some traffic cams. But just be advised, they have had some traffic advisories through the canyon. It's been messy. There were multiple slide offs earlier, and they were not letting traffic through southbound. And it appears, though, I don't know if these cameras have updated, but it appears like traffic is going. But still, be careful. Give yourself extra time, and if you want to just like be super safe and not risk it, maybe better just take the long way around, go over Valley View Highway over to Tremonton and hit the freeway there. But anyway, just a traffic update with some things that we were hearing earlier here at the old Radio Ranch. 435-339-0321. 9315 also just, I don't think we got to this point, asking about if Boise State does well in this college football playoff, if that could potentially help the Pac-12 as far as its upcoming media rights that are being explored. And I think there is that possibility. Like if they show out and that game gets big ratings and they can say, hey, look, our team, a team that's in part of our conference, it's got a following. They have a history of going to these big games and performing well and drawing eyeballs. That helps. Like this deal isn't done yet. So anything like that they can use to illustrate the viewership of schools in the Pac-12, the future Pac-12, can only help it. It can't hurt it.
Absolutely. And at this point, as we sit here on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas, there's a chance that we could be talking about a media deal in a month and a half that includes the national champion in college football. There is still a possibility that Boise State can, I mean, they're at the dance. They're at the table. They've been invited. They've earned their way there. And still, you don't see many. You see the odds come out about the national champion who's going to run it and everything. And Boise's getting the amount of disrespect that we're used to here. But there's still a chance that there's a national champion that's coming out of this conference. So absolutely, I think, Boise does well. And crazy things happen at that stadium down in Glendale. The Seahawks throw the ball on the 1 yard line and lose the Super Bowl. And, I've seen career-ending injuries down there. I've seen Marshawn Lynch go for crazy stuff. There's just something crazy in that stadium. And Boise State's the kind of team, you add a little football magic dust to stuff, and they shock the world.
Both Boise State and Penn State have good histories of playing in the Fiesta Bowl. So it's not like one school struggles over another. They've both had a very good history playing there. So could be very exciting. By the way, score update on the game that will never end. Bowl game.
Toledo 48, Pitt 46, the longest bowl game in college history, final after 6 overtimes. Apparently, Toledo fans didn't really understand how the overtime rules work because they stormed the field 2 or 3 times thinking they won. So, but they got to do it for real. They got to practice again, and I believe 4 times is what I heard. Fans ran out on the field. So, congratulations. The 5th time, 6th time, they got it right.
Oh, that's funny. Yes. That's great. Yeah, the longest running a football game or college football bowl game. So 6 overtimes. That is crazy. Just after we had a 5 overtime game on Tuesday.
Makes you want to watch just the games like Rutgers and Kansas going on right now. They're tied up. Maybe they want to keep it close and give us some extra football.
That's good stuff. But to see Toledo wins it on a defensive stand too, which is kind of cool. By the way, speaking of, we were talking about traffic and stuff. I need to pass this along. Anyone planning to go to Powder Mountain tomorrow? SR 158 near Powder Mountain will be closed from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. for avalanche mitigation. So avoid that area or just take your time getting there if you plan on going to Powder Mountain tomorrow.
Yeah, and if you're planning on enjoying this fresh snow we've got and you're going out to Logan Canyon or something, be really careful. We had 2 brothers who were out snowmobiling in Logan Canyon on Christmas Eve that had an avalanche.
Thankfully, story.
Yeah, thankfully they're both okay, but it can just real quick like that. So keep your head on a swivel out there.
Hey, last thing before we hand it off to Dan Patrick for a moment here. Looking at the NFL, former Aggies in the NFL, so we're still talking football. Jordan Love continuing to do well for the Green Bay Packers, has got them to the playoff. They secured their position in the playoffs. And how about Nick Vigil? That's not a name that we've talked about very much lately. He is kind of bounced around the NFL a little bit, joined the Dallas Cowboys late, and has had kind of a little resurgence here. He led the Cowboys in tackles over the weekend.
And you know what? The Cowboys right now, their CeeDee Lamb just got put on the shelf for the year. They're looking for players to step up, and he's making the most of his opportunity.
They are. Look, and they're playing with house money right now. I mean, they're not making the playoffs. Some of their stars are out, but suddenly they're like playing better football right now, which is odd. And then another guy just continues to perform at a high level. Bobby Wagner led the Washington Commanders in tackles over the weekend. He is about to surpass Junior Seau for tackles throughout his career, and that is some very rarefied air. Hall of Fame career, just a fantastic season that he's having again. This guy just does not age, and he continues to perform well.
13th year, and looking at the stat totals, like just taking it from the Seahawks Super Bowl year, he's already surpassed the tackles this season. 71 solo tackles, 118 tackles on the year so far in 15 games. And Eric, this guy in his 13 years in the NFL, even in a couple of years, he had one back in 2014, only played 11 games with some injuries, has always been over the century mark in tackles. The dude is the middle linebacker that I wanted to talk about when my parents mentioned Seau and Mike Singletary and Dick Butkus. Now I watched Bobby Wagner for my Seahawks and will always be a big fan. The way he's done it is just legendary at that position.
Yeah, amazing. And he's been up to be Washington's representative for the Man of the Year award, and he's had that recognition and at least nomination for various different seasons when he was in Seattle, and just continues to give back to his community wherever he is too. So great, continues to be great with Bobby Wagner and his presence with the Commanders. That's going to do it for us this hour, but stick around. We'll talk hoops next hour and hear from Coach Jared Calhoun.
I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The 76ers season hasn't gone as scripted, but the team's record may not be the biggest issue. It's Joel Embiid. The problem is the star's commitment. He struggled to get into game shape, rarely plays back-to-backs, and has been called out by teammates for his repetitive tardiness in team activities. That type of work ethic won't get you very far. To make matters worse in Philly, Embiid was recently shown the ropes by some of the NBA's best at the Summer Olympics. The star big man was able to learn. Champions like LeBron James, Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Steve Kerr, Eric Spoelstra, right there at his fingertips. That doesn't appear to have any effect on Embiid this season. And until the big man is willing to accept some of the blame and attack the problem head on, turning this season around is going to be a major challenge for the Philadelphia 76ers. But there's still plenty of time to do that. The question is Joel Embiid's motivation and his health. I'm Dan Patrick, and this is Above the Noise. The holidays